Well, if you watch the media in New Zealand, you're basically getting one narrative. Our mainstream media tend to report stories from left wing news sources like CNN, from the New York Times and the Washington Post. Oh, and also the BBC from the UK as well. So it's time for us to also get the other side of the story. And so part of a regular feature of McBlog is to speak to our US correspondent, my good buddy Glenn Stanton, who's based at Focus on the Family. And we're going to do this on a regular basis, and also with other areas in the world, including Australia and UK Europe, just so that we can counter some of the narrative that you're hearing through the mainstream media. I think we deserve to hear the facts, don't we? So let's get into it. Well, joining me is our US correspondent, Glenn Stanton from Focus on the Family in Colorado. Glenn, we're looking forward to getting some regular commentary from you because, as I said in the introduction, all our news source through our mainstream media is CNN, New York Times and Washington Post. So you can probably guess what the general impression is of the current government and of a whole lot of stories. But look, let's get into some of the issues. Obviously, during January, when we were all enjoying the summer, everybody was talking about ice. But it wasn't the cold ice, which you have had some of, but it was about this immigration group. Look, what's the general perception towards what ICE is doing? Are people still against illegal immigrants coming in, and do they support the work of ICE, but they don't want to see protesters killed?
Yeah, well, let me say this first of all. ICE is a federal effort, lawful effort, to find illegal immigrants that are in our country that have no business being here because they hopped the line to come in under the Biden administration. And ICE is simply enacting U.S. law and taking these people out of the country. It's an incredibly large cleanup job that has to happen. And they have the power of law to do this. And so they are doing it. But in a few cities, there is resistance, and in some cities, very oftentimes violent resistance to this, because people believe that, I mean, a big phrase here is ICE is coming in and stealing our neighbors from us. ICE is coming in and taking people away, our neighbors, our citizens. They're not citizens. They are people here, and most of them are criminals, known criminals, that we, for the safety of the United States, have to get out of our country. But there are some people politically and ideologically who think that we should just have absolute open borders. Anybody who wants to come in can come in. That's how they came in originally. And there are people seeking to come into our nation legally, properly. And it is not fair to those people to let people come in and jump the line. So we, as a nation of laws, are sending those people who shouldn't be here back home. But unfortunately, we have American citizens that are actively resisting law enforcement officials, federal law enforcement officials, that are seeking to enact United States law. That's what the resistance to ICE is about.
Right. And like you say, it's only happening in a couple of cities. ICE is operating throughout the country. There's not a big furor. There's not protests. There's not killings of protesters. Is there a clear distinction between getting rid of illegal immigrants who have committed crimes and illegal immigrants who haven't committed crimes?
There is a distinction there, but we have to understand that if you are in this country and you don't have a legal right to be here, you have broken the law. That's what a criminal is. Now, there are criminals in the sense of they've done all that, but they are also rapists, drug smugglers, murderers, things like that. And they're going after those kinds of lawbreakers, but they are also, if you don't have your citizenship, if you don't are not going through the right process to be here in this country, those people are being removed as well, and they should be removed because, again, a nation can't exist if it doesn't have borders and if it doesn't have something called citizenship. And, Bob, I can't come to New Zealand and just claim myself a New Zealander. There's a process that I have to go through. And that's exactly what we're seeing here in the United States as well. And you made a very good point that, I live in Colorado Springs. I'm just about an hour south of Denver. Denver is a sanctuary city. It's a liberal city, but we are not seeing this kind of craziness in Denver. We're seeing it in Minneapolis and St. Paul, a little bit in Portland. We're not seeing it so much in DC and Chicago and places like that, but we're seeing it in certain cities because the local politicians are allowing this kind of behavior to happen.
Yeah. Okay, I don't think we'd let you into the country because you're a far-right conservative who believes that only women can get pregnant, so I don't think you'd qualify, but anyway.
I would keep that
down. Okay, so we've seen two tragic deaths. Alex Pretty, Renee Good. Look,
Renee
obviously
Good first and Alex Pretty second.
Yeah, and look, question as to how much they contributed and put themselves at risk. Just a total tragedy, complete loss of life. So sad for the families. But what do you say to critics who say, look, as a Christian, we should welcome in immigrants. We should, illegal or not. And if we're pro-life, how can we be pro-life when we see what's happening to protesters like this? What's your response to that?
Yeah, see, this is something that's very, very important. And what I would encourage people is, first of all, we have to stop and think about things. And first of all, you said, we should welcome immigrants. There is nobody that is objecting to the Statue of Liberty that says, bring me your downtrodden, bring me your dispossessed. America is a country of immigrants, but it's a country of legal immigrants that come through the proper channels to get here. That is what we are about. But when you have, and it is a tragedy, I want to say this very, very clear. The death of Renee Good is tragic. The death of Alex Pretty is absolutely tragic. It never should have happened. But this was not something where evil ICE agents just did whatever they wanted to these people. Okay? Renee Good was actively impeding federal agents in their task of enforcing law. Now, we can debate about what happened and whether it should have happened, but when you as an individual put yourself in the face of armed federal agents that are going about their fully lawful duties and you try to stop them, that is not going to go well. Unfortunately, It ended with her death when she drove her car toward an agent. Now, what she was intending to do, nobody knows. But the fact of the matter is, she put herself in that situation. She didn't just find herself in that situation. She actively put herself. And you can see videos of her and her female partner. The female partner is clearly taunting federal officials. And her shooting was a result of that choice that she made. Now, a court of law will determine whether that was a good shooting or a bad shooting. But we need to let the court of law, we need to let law determine that. Yeah. But again, make no mistake, she put herself there intentionally. Alex Pretty is a bit different situation. I don't think he was as brazen as Renee Good was, but he was there in the middle of federal law enforcement activities, and he was involving himself in that. not as overtly as Renee Good was. What we see is he's in the middle of the street, in the middle of what the federal agents are doing, and he was filming, and then he's waving a card to come forward, and then agents kind of approach him, and for whatever reason, agents shoved a woman down. We don't know why they did that. We don't know if the woman provoked them, what she had done to cause that action from federal agents. But then Alex Preddy got involved in that situation. He put himself into the activity of a police action. And he did it while being armed. In the United States, in certain situations, you are allowed to conceal carry a gun, but you are not allowed to challenge police while you are armed. Right. And that is a very, very critical move here. So the Alex Preddy situation is a little bit different. I don't think he's totally innocent. He has some culpability there, but a court of law is going to determine what happened when border agents discharged their guns. Were they right to do so? Were they wrong to do so? A court will determine that, and they'll do that carefully and systematically.
Yeah, and I did find a little bit of irony that the radical left, who are always into gun control and saying they're the worst things ever, are defending the right of Alex Preddy to be carrying a gun. I mean, it's been interesting to watch that. Look, I just, I found this interesting because to the audience, I showed this image to Glenn just before we came on air. And look, I think we all know what Renee Good and Alex Preddy looks like. We've seen detailed analysis of their cases. These three women, we've got Rachel Morin on the left, who was killed by a illegal immigrant who came into the country. She from El Salvador. This is 2023. In the middle is Laken Riley, a 22-year-old nursing student who was murdered while jogging by an illegal immigrant from Venezuela. And the little girl on the right is a 12-year-old girl who was assaulted and killed in Texas by two illegal immigrants from Venezuela. So when we see these protesters going into churches, Glenn, Renee like Good! These ones.
Renee Good! Renee Good!
Yeah, so when they go into churches and they stop services and they confront, the pastor up the front, were they also shouting the names of Rachel Morin, Laken Riley, Jocelyn Nungare, and victims of illegal immigrants? I bet they weren't.
Bob, they were not. They were absolutely not. That incident of that Baptist church in St. Paul, Minnesota, it was an unassuming Sunday service. And those activists went in with the intention of disrupting that service. And no, they're not brokenhearted over those victims that belong to families that had their loved ones taken away from them from violent illegal immigrants. Not all illegal immigrants are violent, but some of them are. And there has been a significant loss of life because of that. And so, I mean, we can say this fairly, if you will. There does seem to be a bit of selective outrage here, right? And that's on the left and the right, but we really do see it in this situation that most people would not recognize those three young women. You would recognize the photographs of Alex Preddy and Renee Good because they, like you said, they are plastered all over media. And there is a bit of selective outrage here. The loss of life is a tragic thing.
And I mean, just to give you an idea, I did an audit of our three major news outlets. I found 4 stories on these three, and most of it was because Trump was campaigning and talking about them. I looked at the coverage of Alex Preddy and Renee Good, and there was more than 60 in total, more than 60 compared to 4. So now Hillary Clinton.
Here's the difference. Here's the difference, Bob, real quick. is those three girls were just living their lives.
Yeah.
Pretty and Good were both involved in getting into the business of federal agents enforcing law. And there is a world of difference there. Now, again, that doesn't mean that the loss of their life is not tragic, or that those killings were justified necessarily. Again, a court of law will determine both of those with Good and with Pretty, but they're completely different situations. Those three ladies that you had up there, they're just minding their own business, going about their lives, doing what young women do. And the others were putting themselves into harm's way by challenging federal law enforcement.
Yeah. So Hillary Clinton has resurfaced a little bit. She's a little bit like our ex-Prime Minister Helen Clark. Kind of like people that think they should just retire, but they keep coming back. And they always tend to push a radical left messaging. So Hillary Clinton says, you know, religion's being used to divide the country. Just briefly, because we're fast running out of time, but just briefly, what's her point?
Well, she wrote a piece for The Atlantic. And it's interesting that she starts it out citing religion and talking about Jesus' story of the Good Samaritan, and you know, the death of Renee Good and Alex Pretty. And you get this a lot from progressives, liberals, is they'll point their finger at you about religion, but then they'll use religion to tell you why you're wrong. And this is, you know, these are the same people that argue for a separation of church and state. But whenever Hillary Clinton was running for office, she would attend a black church and announce that she was running for office. And progressives just do that. They do that constantly. And so, yes, religion is a bad thing. It's dividing America. But then they employ biblical faith and religion to tell Christians like myself why we're wrong to have the convictions that we have.
Okay, and I'll bet my house on it that the article never included the names of these three victims. So it was just the victims that they want to talk about being victims. So anyway, look, just some two good news stories to finish with. Firstly, a fascinating case. Detransitioner was awarded $2 million for basically as a 16-year-old having healthy breasts removed in the name of gender ideology. Glenn, what I found, and this is going to be a house of cards. I mean, I'm thinking of Chloe Cole in California and others who's suing Kaiser Permanente in California. But what I found fascinating about this one was the case was New York based. You know, I mean, that's like almost a case calling for morality in California or in Hollywood. You know, it's kind of like, man, this is interesting.
This news is very, very big news, and it's very, very positive news. It was a $2 million settlement that this family brought against medical practitioners for mutilating their daughter. And it's interesting, Bob, because the mom talks about how she was manipulated into this. She was told by the doctors that if she did not go along with this, her daughter could kill herself. And like that manipulation. And so a judge and a court found with the mother and the daughter to say, yes, this was a violation. Manipulation went on here. And there are 30 plus cases lined up of similar young men and young women. And this is the way that you're going to shut this thing down, is to hold the medical practitioners who the Hippocratic Oath tells them do no harm, but they did harm. They did great harm to these young male and female bodies based on some baseless ideology. And they manipulated the parents to do this. And that's what happened in this case. And this judgment is very, very good. And we hope to see more of it. We need to see more of it.
Yeah, and look, what I find is it's always the same narrative. It's always the same facts in the case. It's about the child not fully understanding, not giving informed consent. It's always about the parents being manipulated with the suicide trope. Better an alive son than a dead daughter. The script is just the same. Same with our detransitioners that we profiled last year. So look, no surprises, and hopefully House of Cards. Just one other story. There's a new marriage campaign. Let me just show you it. This with our buddy Katie Faust, who spoke at our conference 2 years ago. And of course, you spoke a few years before that. But it's basically trying to overturn the Supreme Court's decision on gay marriage. Let me just show a quick excerpt of this.
Marriage is actually the most basic institution of human civilization.
When Obergefell redefined marriage to include same-sex couples, it was billed as a win for adult equality. In reality, it created inequality for children. It made our children less than.
When you redefine marriage, you redefine parenthood. When you make mothers and fathers optional in parenthood law, children are harmed.
We now have these trite phrases like love makes a family, or all you need is just love. As long as your physical needs are met and someone is cheering you on, then apparently you'll grow up fine.
But the kids aren't fine. The kids
Yeah, I mean, it's great stuff, and it's nothing that you and I haven't been saying for years. But new campaign, look, is it just hot air? Can it change things? I mean, because you've got some big names there.
Well, it can change things. And the effort of this campaign, it's called the Greater Than campaign, and it's a play off of the Human Rights Campaign. Their little sticker of an equal sign, equality. They have co-opted that, I think, very wisely to say that the needs of children are greater than the desires and wishes of adults. And this is an effort to overturn the Obergefell decision, the 2015 Obergefell decision in the United States that radically redefined marriage to say marriage is no longer, and the family is no longer about male and female, but about any two individuals who say that they love one another. And Focus on the Family is behind this. Jim Daly, our president, he appears in that video. And we are very strong supporters of this effort. And I love the effort because it really gets the focus on what children need rather than what adults want.
Fantastic. Glenn, we're out of time, but we're wanting to do this on a regular basis, so we will be in touch in a couple of weeks. We just want to counter the narrative that's coming through from the US media that the New Zealand media pushes on our families and the narrative. So it's good to get the counter and get some truth into all of this. So thank you, Glenn, and we will be in touch.
Good to see you, Bob.